There were a lot of legendary aircraft designed in the 1930s. Aircraft created during that decade quickly became the mainstays of the air forces of their respective countries. They were used till the very end of the Second World War, and their late variants formed the pantheon of the best piston-engine aircraft ever made. Today we're going to speak about one of those iconic designs, the numerous marks of the Spitfire, the winged knights that guarded the skies of the British Empire. There are 29 variants of this aircraft in War Thunder, scattered around the tech trees of no less than 6 different nations. It's no wonder, really. Thanks to its excellent performance, the Spitfire quickly earned itself a glowing reputation, and many countries were happy to employ it in their air forces. It's no exaggeration to say that the Spitfire became one of the main symbols of the piston engine era. The first production Spitfire, the Mark I, was equipped with a 900 horsepower Rolls-Royce Merlin III engine, which allowed it to reach a speed of 584 kilometers per hour. That was more than enough to compete with the main aircraft of the Luftwaffe, the Bf-109E. A well-designed airframe even gave the British fighter a bit of an edge in terms of maneuverability, but the Mark I's also used fabric-covered ailerons, which decreased their roll rate. Furthermore, the Mark I didn't have a lot of firepower. It was armed with 8 low-caliber Browning machine guns, and those took a while to do any actual damage to an enemy aircraft. The 2A variant was armed in the same way but received an even more powerful engine, the Merlin 12, giving 1,020 horsepower. The Spitfire Mark IIB, on the other hand, had a different armament configuration. 4 of its machine guns were replaced with 2 20mm Hispano Mark I cannons. This cannon is fed by drum magazines that could accommodate at most 60 rounds, so it's certainly not a gun for spraying and praying. Use your cannons deliberately, in short bursts, ideally against a target that you've already softened up with machine guns. Also keep in mind that this Mark can't carry any rockets or bombs. After all, the Spitfire was originally designed to be an effective interceptor and nothing else. Mark V's received a new engine, the Merlin 45, which was additionally modified for better performance at low altitudes for the 5C variant of the Spitfire. This version of the engine was called 45M. When the production of this mark of the Spitfire was in full swing, so was the African campaign. That's why many Mark V's were fitted with a special dust filter fitted under the nose. Those filters allowed the aircraft to handle sandy conditions, but also, predictably, reduced their top speed. Spitfires with this modification were designated TROP for tropical. All Mark V's have a distinctive chin, good maneuverability, and a decent rate of climb, but they come with several different armament fittings. The 5B variant was armed with 4 Browning machine guns and 2 Hispano Mark II cannons, while the 5C variant was fitted with 4 20mm cannons that had a shared ammo pool of 480 rounds. That firepower allowed the aircraft to destroy even the sturdiest of bombers in a matter of seconds, and other fighters didn't stand a chance at all. Because of their use of a float-type carburetor, engines of the Mark II and Mark IV Spitfires couldn't handle negative G. This issue was first addressed with the arrival of the Mark V, as this variant had its carburetor fitted with a special restrictor that limited the fuel flow, and was properly resolved on the Spitfire Mark IX, thanks to its new engine, the Merlin 61. The Spitfire F, Mark IX, and 9C still follow the same formula of one aircraft having both machine guns and cannons, and the other being armed with cannons only, but the former also got more ammo, 240 rounds to be exact. This new generation of Spitfires uses the same tactic as the Mark V's. As your engine doesn't allow you to beat your opponents in terms of speed, your main goal is to force priority targets into a turn fight and eliminate enemy fighters as soon as possible. The same goes for the carrier-based Seafire Mark III and the late Mark 16 with its new set of weapons. With the LF Mark 11 variant, though, there's a significant shift in your tactical approach. By giving it an improved engine and utilizing special fuel, engineers managed to close the gap with foreign designs in terms of raw power, which changed things considerably. This aircraft actually has one of the fastest rates of climb at its rank, 32 meters per second. That's very fast indeed. Essentially, the LF Mark 11 will climb faster than any fighter you might encounter, and then it's up to you. You can choose to go down to their level or terrorize the enemy team with endless boom and zoom attacks. If you do it like that, giving you even a small window of opportunity would be a huge risk for any opposing planes, as your regular machine guns are replaced with 2 high-caliber Brownings. But we suggest that you should be wary of your speed, as the design of the airframe somewhat limits the capabilities of the aircraft, something that's very apparent in a dive. If you don't fancy losing both of your wings at a speed of 750 kilometers per hour, check your airspeed gauge every time you dip the nose of the plane. To solve this problem, starting with the Mark 14, engineers modified the airframe of the Spitfire. Furthermore, to fully unlock the potential of the fighter, they outfitted new variants with extremely powerful Griffin engines that allowed the latest Spitfires to reach crazy speeds of 778 kilometers per hour. This kind of speed is pretty respectable even for a jet, which means that Spitfire variants with Griffin engines were not just competitive, they blew many of their opponents completely out of the water. Naturally, due to the changes in the airframe and the increase in weight, these Spitfires lost a bit of their maneuverability, but that didn't make them any less effective. It's also worth noting that late Marks can perform pretty well as close air support aircraft. They're quite effective at supporting their allies on the ground and in mixed battles. In order to create an incredibly efficient aircraft design, British engineers used all the tricks and techniques available at the time, and the end result was very much worth it. The Spitfire proved to be an almost perfect piston-engined fighter. What's your favorite Spitfire, though? An early one? Or maybe one of the later Marks? Tell us in the comments below.